Let your words connect. Upside down. Right. Peace and blessings, y'all. How you doing? This is your boy Gerald. It is the 9th of November 2014. How is everybody? We're on the back end of our weekend. I hope that your week was blissful and with no negativity, and I hope that whatever you're faced with, that you have the strength to deal, to always speak your truth and validate your steps. So how you been? You doing okay? I hope so. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to each and every one of you for allowing me to take a second to connect with you. We all know that the world, life can be very difficult, and it is the greatest challenge you're going to ever face in your existence is to navigate your evolution. So it's very, very, very important that you discern and choose your steps very, wise. Just wise, because, I know some people are like, well, Gerald, you always say that. Life, you don't understand what I'm going through in my life. And you're right. I don't. But guess what? Because I am who I am. And I love me some Gerald. I am humbled. And I always keep you guys in my prayers. Because, see, I know that someone prayed for me. And, prayers must go up before blessings come down, right? So it's very important that you see your worth and value. But, it's kind of ironic, really was the synchronicity of that song that just went off, The Undisputed Truth, Smiling Faces. When you listen to the lyrical content, it has more and more value when you listen to the lyrical content, because these are things that we experience as we grow, and some can be stark, some can be very apparent, but these are all things that at one time or another you're going to experience, because once again it is your life. So I want to say thank you for each and every one of you that just take a second just to check out what old Gerald got to say. And, like, unlike, I love the feedback. And first and foremost, let me put this out there. If you're going through something, you got some challenges going on, and you want sound advice, look at me. Feel free to drop me a line. If anything, I'll pray in your behalf, but if anything, you'll have unbiased advice back. And when it comes to your life, don't you think you deserve to have truth? Now, the kicker of that is you have to do the work, because we all know truth is like a double-edged sword. It can cut both ways. But when it comes to your life, don't you think you deserve to have the life intended? You deserve that. But we also know that you've got to plant them seeds. You've got to do the work. You've got to ground your feet and go forth. The only way you're going to be able to do that is if you decide to submit yourself to your higher power. Now, I know Him as my Lord Jesus Christ, but I also am humbled to know He is one of many names. So, if you're going through something right now, what you waiting on? What you waiting on? If you're going through a situation where your environment has no peace in it, what's keeping you there? I'm just saying. You do realize when it comes to your life, there should be no pain. Did you hear what I said? There should not be any pain. If it feels like you are constantly pulling teeth, or you have to go beyond the call of duty to be heard, you're not doing something right. You're not. See? Talk about synchronicity. So, my question to you is this. When are you going to have courage to claim your life? What you waiting on? What you waiting on? You waiting for your princess to come in there and sweep you up all of your problems and change the environment and everything's happily ever after? No, you'll be waiting a long time. See, society also paints that picture to you, my queens, and I keep telling you, fairy tales are nothing but metaphors for life. The fantasy of that one day my prince will come is an illusion. It is. For financial gain. But the beautiful thing about any type of fairy tale that has been written, there's always messages in the context if you're willing to receive them. Everything. I don't care if it's been published, there's also something underlying in the words if you take the time to look at it. So, I happen to be at work, and excuse me, I'm sitting in, we had a little break, and I don't know how the conversation came about, and there was like a miniature forum going on. There was 3 guys, 2 women, and they were talking about something. And just so happened I happened to walk out, God guided me out there, and they were talking, I guess somebody was going, one of the guys were going through, had a question to one, and one of the females advice on something. And they got to talking, and it opened a great dynamic of questions, and everyone out of the 5, 3 of them left, and now I'm still out there, and so I sit down, and the lady was like, I always speak to everybody. She said, well, how are you doing, Drew? I said, hey, I'm here, I'm happy, hey, protected. And the last person left, then she asked me a question. She was like, let me ask you something. Why is it that men never are, what she said? She said, why is it that men say one thing, but their actions are always the opposite? And I was like, what do you mean? She said, well, you're in a relationship. Why is it that the person you're investing time with, eventually, everything that it took to have that relationship get off the ground is contradicted to where you are now, and it causes confusion. And I looked at her, and I kind of smiled, and I said, it was because you're allowing access to the wrong caliber men. And she was like, what do you mean? She kind of got offended, but I was telling the truth. I said, because if you're involved with a man or a person, period, and they see your worth and value, why would they do anything to willfully sabotage the growth of relationship. Why would they do that? That makes it doesn't make any sense to do. So then I turned around and I flipped it back. I said, I said, well, why is it that women are always drawn to bad boys? And just as quick as it fell from my mouth, she said this: because we're addicted to pain. I said, what? I said, yeah. We're addicted to pain. We know 9 times out of 10 the person that we're attracted to is from a physical base, and we would, in our mind, we feel that we can put the pieces where they need to be as long as the physical is appealing to our eye. Or in other words, you know, as long as he's physically pleasing me, and I can have validation from the other females in my life or in my environment, that validates everything. Even though I know behind closed doors he's driving me up the wall. I said, well, you know, that's kind of contradictory, because why would you willfully allow someone to steal your happiness away? She said, because that, to us, that's how we identify worth, through struggle. So even though we know it's bad for us, because of our pride and our ego, we can't admit it to ourselves that we made a bad decision. Now, all this did was validate everything that I knew. And I just smiled, because you know, God has already put this on my heart. I've known this for several years now. That's why when a good guy comes into your life, you don't want to have nothing to do with him. But that one guy that is just going to pretty much wreck your life, you will go kicking and screaming for him not to leave you alone. Same thing with guys. You find that real beautiful woman, she with that asshole. Why? And then God brings a person into your life that's going to help you grow, to fortify you feeling emotionally safe, to give you everything you need from the inside to the environmental. And guess what? What do you do? What do? You get bored, because in actuality what you're saying is, he's too much of a challenge because he sees the value in me. I need someone to pull the value out of me through chaos. So why do you do it? Why do you accept bad behavior? Or better yet, you'll get with someone that you know that was not even honoring themselves, and you expect that they're going to honor you. Why? Why do you do that? I'll tell you why. Because somewhere long ago, that was imprinted in the back of your brain that was acceptable. You may have seen this in your family, and you thought that that's what love was. I'm here to tell you, that's not love. That was nothing but disrespect. There ain't nothing good going to come out of that. The only thing that's going to come out of that is what we know as a generational curse, because it's going to reciprocate. You know, that's like they say, if you constantly do the same thing expecting a different outcome, that's insanity. But the kicker I try to rationalize is, if you know what you need, why won't you do the work? Because you know that you have to admit to yourself that you made bad choices. And a woman's pride is like a diamond. It's hard to break. That's why she gets her heart broken. But you know what I've learned? And what I've seen in my personal life? Because you do understand that your legacy was already written before you took your first breath. And as you evolve, the different challenges that you will see come into your life, manifest into your life, depends on how long you're going to be in that level of understanding. And the longer you don't get it, the more intense it becomes. The worst thing that you can do is allow someone to have access to your life because of a physical connection. Oh, he treats me bad, but he pleasures me so well. Those two things are opposites. You're in the midst of a soul tie relationship because it's carnal. It's about the flesh. So if you're in an environment where it's not uplifting you, or you're receiving more bad traits than the good ones that validate you, you're in the wrong place. And your life is not going to go as you envision it. It's going to go the opposite. It's going to downward spiral until you rock bottom. That's how life is. Why should God give you your blessings when you're not ready for them? Think about it. You may envision a certain level of financial access, but if you're not doing anything to invest in it, how can you hold on to it? You may have snapshots of what to be, but if you're not investing in self, how do you think you're going to get there? And here's the amazing part about that. There are actually some people that think that, you know what, as long as I got this, that I can write my ticket. Well, guess what? You know, every time that you give yourself physically to someone, first of all, that's not you know what happens? That accelerates your life expectancy. So guess what? You age quicker because there's no love in that. It's not pure. It's not. That's why you see people walking around in their 30s looking like they're in their 50s. Because that person is in a place where they don't want to love themselves. They are self-inflicting their own traumas. The question is, who convinced you that your life was to be written in pain? Who told you that? Who told you that you're not beautiful? I'm going to tell you who did. The person in the mirror. That person you see in the mirror. Yep. And the funny thing about it is the person in the mirror knows your secrets. Well, because your ego and pride is such on a grand scale, you actually have an alter ego or persona that you will switch on to, because you know when you're in your rational mind state, you wouldn't dare do that. You see that a lot of times when people indulge too much in alcohol, or they have accepted a life of getting high, or worse, sexual exploration without monogamy. All those things are going to deplete you. When you think of your life like a battery, when you're born, you're fresh, you're packed, you've got a lot of zeal and zest about your life, and you go for it. Well, if you do not protect what is found inside, it's going to deplete. You're going to be vulnerable, and you're going to be unprotected. And the sad thing about it is society knows this, but society benefits off of your impulsive decisions. That's why I keep telling you, when you gravitate towards impulsive things, that is an imbalance because you're not seeing your worth. If it's meant for you to have, don't you think there is a requirement of time? Think about it. Why would I have the right, if you just met me, to have your goodies you don't know nothing about? you would look at me like I was crazy. But people make this choice all the time. People roll the dice all the time. They say, well, I got protection on. Do you realize we live in a society where they are manipulating genetics now? It's able to hereditarily skip generations and show up in your DNA. Do you realize that? I know somebody knows exactly what I'm talking about. That's your validation right now. But I need each and every one of you to make that decision. When you going to get real with your life? When you going to let society to be in its rightful place and stop allowing people to come and go and dictate your destiny? Because if you constantly do that, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be by yourself. You're going to be plagued with so many challenges physically. And you're going to feel like you're the only person on the planet. And that's such a lie. Such a lie. Do you realize that? Think about it this way, y'all. Look back at your life, right? Do you find it ironic that as you get older, there are certain people that you always see at the definitive time of your life? It never fails. There are certain people that are already written into your legacy, and they're going to be there. They're going to be there. They're going to be your validation on what path you take. But until you make a decision, and here's the ironic part of it all. We have so many people walking around with masks on or project who they are that contradict who they are behind closed doors. It's like that, was it Harry Puff and stuff? You try to talk about synchronicity. What is it going to take for you to say, you know what? I deserve better. I know some of y'all saying, well, Gerald, I wish I could do that and I can undo time, but where I am now, I don't know if I can ever have the courage to walk away because of children, because of affiliations. But guess what? If it's not blessed, it's not for you to be there anyway. So basically, you're making a choice to settle in someone else's burden, someone else's lessons. It's your responsibility to define you, no one else. When people say, well, I love you unconditionally, I'll always be there. Isn't it the actions that validate the statement? But see, society says, well, if I show emotion, that shows weakness. Do you realize the more and more you invest in yourself, the more and more you have access to insight and wisdom of what makes you you? It is custom tailored because it's your life. That's why when you see men out here looking for love in all the wrong places, it always contradicts what they think they need. It's always from a position of want. It's really from a place of lust, if you want to call a spade a spade. And that's why I tell you this. There are some people that you're going to come into contact that does not, and it doesn't mean being mean, but they don't deserve to hear you breathe, because the fact that they don't have the faculties to grow with you, because they don't have the faculties to grow alone. Now, let's talk about parents. Some of you have a burden in your heart because you have been charged the responsibility of raising your child or your children by yourself. And you're in a position where if you could turn back the hands of time, but yet remain of having your children, you would. But do you realize that every time a child takes his first breath, that is a blessing that has still been deemed to you? Do you realize that? Because they have to depend on everything that is given. They're vulnerable to the world. So it's very, very imperative that you know who you are and define what you're about. Because everything that you project, they're going to interpret as gospel. And there is no deeper pain to watch a child grow into adulthood to turn around and make the same mistakes you did. That's real talk. So to go back to what I was saying before, when she dropped that in my ear, she said, well, you know, we're addicted to pain, we're addicted to drama, we're addicted to the chase. And I was like, well, why? And she couldn't answer that to me. She couldn't answer that. Because that means she would have to be truthful in the way she thought. But I already knew. See, someone had fed her that BS too, that you are a queen in your own right, but it is your evolution that will finally reveal to the world who you are destined to be. And sometimes you gotta walk by yourself. You know, that's the best thing you can do sometimes, to walk by yourself so you can get it together. You'll never find that in a stolen moment. That's why stolen moments always hurt. That's why being a kept person hurts. Well, you know, being a kept person is really nothing but a new version of slavery anyway, because you are benefiting or receiving the resources from someone else because they're not earned. So you got to question why you're there anyway, because you're playing a part. Or playing a part in someone else's life, not yours. So I got a letter, and I wasn't going to bring it up, but I am. This young lady, she's got 2 boys, and she's struggling. She's got the weight of the world on her shoulders, and now the boys are asking, where's Dad? You know, where's Daddy at? Why won't Daddy come here? Why can't I talk to Daddy? And she says she does everything in her power to navigate around that, you know, because it's too painful to tell them the truth. She said, Gerald, you know, I was in a dark place and I didn't know myself. And I conceived my first son. A man came into my life and told me the things that I wanted to hear, only to leave me the responsibility of raising his son. And truth be told, you know, my son is a blessing, but every day when I look at him, I see the pain of his father. I said, I can't emotionally heal because I see him. He has a striking resemblance of the father. And I don't know what to do. So, me being as understanding as I could, because I'm never going to judge you, because it's your life. Your reality is your reality. Only you can change it. So I turned around and I asked, I said, you know, what was the reason why you guys parted? And she really quickly said, it was because I didn't love him. Actually, I couldn't stand it. But because the fact that he was the only one giving me attention, I dealt. And in return, my son was conceived. And it seems like as he gets older, the pain increases because he walks, talks, and looks like his father. And I just want to know, how long is this going to happen? And I told her, I said, listen, you can't undo time. You can't. But you can learn from it. And when you really look at it, the problems that you have really didn't have anything to do with the father. Because that was a choice. That was a choice. But what I gathered out of those questions was there had to be something underlining, like a domino effect. If I turn around and place one domino and say that one domino represents your thought, and then another domino right behind it that is how you rationalize, and so forth and so forth and so forth, eventually it'll get to a point that you'll have a decision or an outcome. So you've got to make a decision to be happy. This is something that will never be achieved with anyone else but you. That seed has to be placed in your heart first. You've got to make a conscious decision that no matter what your environment is, you're going to better yourself. Even if that means you have to disassociate yourself. Now, here's the beautiful thing about that, y'all. Because a lot of people think that, well, if you decide to disassociate yourself with the environment, you're being disloyal. The ironic part of that is this. You're already being disloyal to yourself because you're allowing yourself to deal with it on a daily basis. So, you got to make a decision. Do you want to be happy? Do you want the things that you aspire to come to pass? Because right now, every day that you decide not to act upon it is another day lost. You can't get back yesterday. You can't. You're not supposed to be somebody's personal punching bag. You're not supposed to be someone's emotional slave. And I keep telling y'all this too. See, only cowards do stuff like that. You know, it goes on behind closed doors. You know, because you got men that think, well, you know what, if I throw my weight, you know, she won't know, she'll know I ain't playing, and they act out. Well, come on, man. If that's who you are now, you learned that from somewhere else. You may have seen it in your childhood. And let me tell you what, in this day and age, you know, that's the last thing that you want to be labeled as, is an abuser. But here's the problem with that. You're the one that's abusing yourself first, because you're condoning behavior that's not good for you. So you got to make a decision. What is it going to take for you to get real with yourself? If you are walking in a position of negativity, if you are personifying everything that can go wrong for a person, you can't blame your environment. You have to blame yourself, because that's all done by choice. That's why we have free will. You've got to look at what's wrong. What's wrong? And I know people are going to be like, I ain't trying to hear this right now, but I know I'm talking to your heart, because you deserve to be happy. And I'm a firm believer. I was talking to somebody the other day. You know, society has convinced everyone that when you make a decision to go talk to somebody, to go talk to a therapist or a psychologist, or you're crazy. You're not crazy. Your life is not working. So it's no different than if you're going to go to college. The knowledge that you have only serves but so far. So you go to school to receive more better information to govern your life, right? That's why we go to school. So what's the difference with that if you go in to see a therapist or a counselor? They're going to give you tools to better suit your life. The kicker is why you feel that you don't deserve that. Or worse, that the way your life is all it's going to be. Nah, man. Nah, it don't work like that. But as long as you guys allow society to play with your mind, you know what I'm saying? You watch what you see on TV and think that's reality. Come on, man. Everything that you see on TV is to sway your mind, ultimately to get you to spend more paper. So when you see, I mean, alright, I'm going to say this and get off of it. When you see a woman on TV, why is it that she always has a checkered past? But then they spin it like, nah, that's how she's strong, because she went through something. You can't go through nothing unless you willfully choose to step in it first. For those people that are like, I mean, look at Scandal. It's a good show, ain't it? But what's the underlining under that? She knows how to lie. She knows how to manipulate. And she's not true to herself. And where does it come from? Her family. She had to learn it from somebody. She learned it from the environment that she grew up in. And she's wondering why her life ain't together now. To the point that she condones an adultery. Come on, man. Ain't nothing good gonna come out of that. Not. That's what separates want and need. You can never have a happy ever after from a want. But we go through it anyway. We try to put that square block in that circle. We try, right? And who hurts in the end? You do. So it's very important that you got to get real with yourself. Get real. Come on now. You're not supposed to be a walking, talking, emotional punching bag. You're not supposed to be walking around taking losses. That's not your walk. But that's going to constantly be your reality until you decide to have the courage to love yourself. Start forgiving yourself. Forgive yourself for the choices you made. Forgive those who have wronged you. Doesn't mean you gotta forget. It doesn't. But guess what? Guess what? I'm a firm believer of this too. The people that don't give a damn about you, guess what? They're gonna walk completely all your life. You'll never hear from them again. Never. But the people that truly, truly love you, guess what? You're gonna watch them evolve. You'll see them. You'll see them directly or indirectly, because God put those people in your life. And the more you try to fight it, the more and more it's illuminated. Why? Because it's meant for you to see it. So do you not see your worth? Stop looking for the... Look here. My queens. You can't expect a man to respect you if you don't respect yourself. You will never find love in the club, and you will not find Mr. Right there either. You won't. You will only find those that share the same like-mindedness as you do. So if you're attracting a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of bullshit people, the apple don't fall far from the tree. It just don't. So you're doing an injustice to yourself every day that you accept bad behavior. You do. Come on now. You gotta get it together, y'all. And I know you can. I know you can. So, to bring this back home, because I've talked too long. I told the woman that had the two sons, I said, listen, you got to find a place in your heart to forgive yourself for your choices. The reality is your mom. It's your responsibility to be the best mom you can be. However, the challenge is the people in your environment that is going to try to distract you from what you are there to do. Another thing, for my queens that have children, unfortunately there is a vast majority of you that have good dads in your children's lives, that want to be in your children's lives. But because of your disposition or your pain that you have not resolved, the father will not have nothing to do with you. And unfortunately, will sacrifice time with that child, which is an injustice, because you being the mother can dictate that. I know somebody's pissed off right now that I said that, but it's the truth. Because if you were 100 from the get-go, why would he not want to walk with you, even if that means y'all not together? So once again, the reality is you have a child that is neglected. Because, women, I'm going to tell you something. You're the mother, but you'll never teach him how to be a man. You can't. Otherwise you would be one. So it's very, very important that you give that child what it needs. Balance. Find it in your heart to heal so that you and the father can be civil and be on common ground in raising your child together. Now, granted, you got some simpletons out there. And I know some of y'all are like, well, you know what, Gerald? I didn't want to put them in that environment, so I did what I had to do. Okay. I'll give you that to a degree. But if you don't want that environment to be to play out again in that child's development, because what will happen is that child will start to rebel against you and build a bias against you, because they're going to look at you as you didn't do anything to cultivate that bond between the father or the mother. And that child will grow up to resent you. And I wouldn't wish that on nobody. I wouldn't. So, and really, let's look at it like this. Do you really think that it was divinely meant for you to be a single parent? Do you really think so? No. You're a single parent because your pride and ego is in the way. Because you don't have the courage to deal with your pain and admit the truth to yourself. That's why the victim card only goes but so far. And that's doing an injustice to you. Because see, what will happen is this. God willing, that child will become 18 years old. And you know what will happen? Unless that father or that mother don't love themselves, then legally they will forge a relationship with that child then. And you know what's going to come with that? A whole lot of pain. So don't do yourself an injustice. You don't deserve that. Do the right thing by doing the work. Love yourself. Have the courage to look at what hurts you. If you don't have a relationship with your higher power, He's the answer. He is the way. All things are through Him. But because we have free will, He's not going to stand in the way of your foolishness. He's just going to wait until you get tired of being tired, and then you're broken. Okay, you ready now? Okay, now let's go on with our lives. Let's go on with your life now. What a lot of people do, and you think about all the time you wasted. Come on, man. Anyway, I think somebody needed to hear that. At the end of the day, you should have peace of mind in you. You shouldn't live in a day. Your day should not be filled with drama. If you've got drama in your life, guess what? That is an addictive mind state, for one. But also it's a cry internally that you need validation. You never got it. That's why bed hopping don't work. Why do you think we got STDs? To show you not to do it, because that's not what you're supposed to do. But we know that, don't we? But anyway, y'all, I hope you guys have a safe, blessed weekend. Sidestep that negativity. Cut the drama out of your life. And get back to loving you. And once you decide to do that, watch your life change. As I always say, God is praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. Come on now. No one's promised time. But it is required for you to govern it. Starting by you looking within yourself. Alright guys, love to hear from you. Stay blessed.